So I'll kick things off by welcoming you all to our first patient registry launch. We're excited to embark on this journey with you, creating a powerful resource that not only connects us, but holds the potential to drive significant progress in understanding and addressing challenges arising from DESH. This registry is powered by RareX, which is an arm of the Global Genes Organization. I worked for months researching the many, and I can't begin to tell you, many data collection platforms that are available to rare disease groups like ours. I presented them to our board, and after a lot of analysis and consideration, the board unanimously voted to move forward with RareX. And I think you will all see why. Caitlin Peters from RareX is joining us now, and she and her team have been wonderful to work with. I also want to thank members of our board who assisted implementing the program, specifically Stephanie Salam, Susan Ford, Emily Smith, and especially Amanda Murphy, who really built our relationship with Global Genes. Any questions about the registry can be directed to me or to Amanda. We also have two members from the DESH research community here. Their presence today indicates just how important this data is to the advancement of research. And I think they agree when I say just how important your participation is. So thank you so much for being here. Now I'm going to hand things over to Caitlin from RareX, and we can all dive in together, explore the incredible possibilities that lie ahead. Off to you, Caitlin.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you all for having me today. My name's Caitlin. I am the manager of community engagement here at RareX. So I'm going to go through a quick little slide deck that will just kind of tell you a little bit about the RareX program and then walk you through the process of how to enroll in the data collection program. Great. So RareX is a program of Global Genes that was created to accelerate rare disease research as well as treatments by removing barriers for patient organizations like DESH to be able to collect data, but also be able to share their data. So RareX is a platform to collect, connect, and share data. It's not a replacement for any other patient registry or clinician-sponsored registry. So why did the DESH leaders choose to go with RareX? So RareX is a global data collection platform. So we have compliance globally. It is 100% patient-owned and managed. You as the patient will control how much data you would like to put into the data collection program, who has access to it, how often you would like to put your information into it. So RareX does not own the data. The DESH Foundation does not own the data. You own the data. All data is de-identified. So all the data that will be returned to your leaders will be 100% de-identified, as well as all of the data returned to researchers. There's no cost for you as a patient or as an organization, and there's no cost for researchers to access. All of our surveys are in a structured and standardized format. So we have working groups that spend many, many hours searching for the best surveys and making sure they're in the best format that is easy for patients to go through, but also for researchers to access. We handle all the governance. So we have an IRB that the DESH Foundation is included under. So we handle all of the governance, all of the IRB, and make sure we're compliant globally. We have a researcher access platform. So we have a streamlined process for getting researchers into this de-identified data. And if there's any researchers on the call, I'm happy to pass along information on that. And we also have the ability to connect to existing data sources. So what is the benefit for you as a patient, caregiver, or a family? So we are collecting data on all systems of the body that will kind of allow us to have a better understanding of the overall disease and all the symptoms that people are reporting. Summary data will be returned to your community. So both Caitlin and Amanda have gone through some data ethics training to make sure that when they are receiving the data back, of course it is de-identified, that they know exactly what they can and can't do with that information. They'll also be able to, share that with you as a community. So they'll be able to get, an overall look at, here are the top 10 symptoms that our community is reporting, and then share it with you as a community so you can kind of see where where the disease community is at and if your symptoms are kind of aligning with the rest of the community. You have the ability to update and change any of your symptoms at any time. So this is not a one and done data collection program. We encourage you to go back in and update all of your symptoms as frequently as you would like. We hope to be able to reach more researchers worldwide. So since we are globally compliant, we have researchers around the world accessing this data. And then you also have the ability to manage who uses your data. So I'll go through some slides in a few talking about your data sharing preferences, but you 100% manage who has access to your data. So this just kind of outlines the patient journey into the data collection portal program. You can use them interchangeably. So you're going to be coming in through your patient community, which is the DeSh Foundation. We've built out a community page, which will be your front door into the data collection platform. You will then enroll in the data collection program, kind of going through very standard, setting up your email, your password, verification emails to complete your registration. You'll then go through your terms of use for Matrix. Matrix is the technology platform that we host the data collection program on. Then you'll move into caregiver consent, patient consent, and data sharing preferences. And then you'll go to your dashboard where you'll begin to answer surveys based off of your symptoms. So how to access the data collection program. So here's the page that has been built out for the DeSh Foundation. This page will be kind of your front door into the data collection program. So you'll see this big red button here. So if it is your first time enrolling, which I assume it's most of your first time enrolling in the data collection program, you'll use the Start Your Journey. But once you come back after you've started enrolling and filling out surveys, you'll go to the blue button that just takes you directly to the login. You won't have to create a new account every time. So what do you need to get started? You'll need an email address and to create a password. Here's a list of approved browsers. So Google Chrome and Apple Safari actually work the best. Microsoft Edge works pretty well as well. Internet Explorer, Mozilla, and Firefox. Sometimes we have issues with the technology just not working as well on those browsers, but I'll be able to share a support email with you. So if you are trying to use any of those browsers, you can reach out to our support and we can see if we can help troubleshoot some of the challenges those browsers give us. And what you don't need is you don't need a lot of time, and you don't need to finish this all at once. I highly recommend just enrolling, getting through the consent. And if there's one survey you're going to fill out at first, it's the head to toe survey that collects the most amount of data around just the general symptoms for the disease. And then at any time you can come back and fill out the remaining surveys. So once you click that, Start Now button on the community page, it will take you to request access. So you'll just put in some general information, first name, last name, email. If you are filling it out as a caregiver, make sure you're requesting access as a caregiver. You can also be a caregiver and a patient, but put yourself as a caregiver first if you also are a caregiver and a patient. You'll then, if you're filling this out for your child, be the caregiver, and then later you'll be able to add the patient. But it's really important for the account to be linked to the caregiver, especially if they're under the age of 18. Once you fill out that page, you'll receive an account creation email. It will then ask you to create your password. If you don't receive the email within a few minutes, check your spam or your junk folder. Sometimes different emails have different security things and it ends up in the spam, but it will be coming from RareX. If you request your account and for some reason you're not getting that email, please reach out to our support line. I'll share that email in a few, and we're able to kind of reset everything on your account for you. Once you click that create password, it will take you through a multi-factor email verification for you to create your password. You will only have to do the multi-factor one time, and that's when you're creating your account. Once you've created your account, you'll just be able to log in normal with an email and a password. So this will be the page that you will see when you're just logging in for the first time, or when you're coming back to the data collection program, where you'll be able to sign in with your email and your password. Down on the bottom here, you'll be able to see the privacy policy. So this is the Global Genes privacy policy that covers the RareX program, just kind of talking about how we access the data, how we keep the data secure. We have a whole data security team here that just makes sure that we're collecting data in an ethical way, and also that the data is as secure as possible. So the privacy policy just really kind of outlines that policy for us. And then terms of use, which will be on the next slide, you can access these documents at any time. So if you just click on them, it will bring up a PDF and you can print it out, you can read it, you can do whatever you would like with them. So once you log in with your email and password, it will bring you to this page. So you'll have to go through the terms of use and consent to those before you can start moving forward. This terms of use is for Matrix, so the technology platform. So it's basically outlining how the technology is collecting the data and how the technology works. So once you've accepted and consented to that, it will bring you to the informed consent. So there's 8 pages of detailed Q&A. You'll see here there's the learn more button, so you can click on that and it will give you a more detailed response. Just a quick note, if you are enrolling as a caregiver, you will go through the informed consent as the caregiver. Then once you're done with that, you will add a patient and go through the informed consent as a patient. Moving down through the informed consent, it will ask you why you're taking part in the RareX data collection program. So if you are a parent or a caregiver, this is where you will select that. If you yourself are a patient with the rare disease, you will select that. These next 2 questions are kind of big questions that we get a lot of questions around. So RareX may contact me with follow-up research studies and invitations. I may choose to ignore these surveys and invitations, but I would like to be contacted. If you would like us to contact you directly, you will select yes. And then the next question is around notifying you or the patient organization about a researcher wanting you to participate in a clinical trial. If you would like to be contacted, directly from RareX, we will always reach out to the patient organization, but this just gives us the consent to reach out to you directly. The last part of the informed consent, this will be the first place where you will put your child's legal name if you are filling this out as a caregiver. So just make sure when you're filling it out, you'll see, you will be going through as a caregiver, and then you'll see your child's complete legal first name. Make sure you put the child's name, and then you'll put your first, I think, middle and last name. It's okay if something happens and you put your name for the child and the child you put for your name, we can go back in and we can help you walk through switching that. Once the informed consent is done, you will then start filling out the general information and demographics. So it will ask questions around, your first name, your last name, your address, your race, ethnicity, gender identity, your birthplace, your estimated household income, what type of health insurance you have. We get a lot of questions why we ask these questions, and a lot of researchers have come to us wanting to know these specific demographics of disease communities. It is 100% de-identified data. So they're not going to be seeing, participant A, has a household income from 75,000 to 100,000. They'll just be seeing like overall, 60% of the community falls into this bracket, or 80% of the community does have health coverage. Like they just like to see the overall kind of demographics of each community. The next, the biggest kind of part of the general information is filling out which rare disease. So you'll see DeSh in the dropdown. If you are diagnosed with another rare disease and it is not listed, you can select the other option, and there's a free text where you can add as many rare diseases as you might be diagnosed with. Once that's completed, you will move into the data sharing preference agreement. So this is where you will control who has access to the data. So the first option is general research. This is the broadest type of research. So if you want your data put in front of any type of researcher, as many people as possible, you will want to select the general research option. If you would like it just to be in front of health, medical, and biomedical research, you will select the second option. There are a few kind of restrictions you can add to this. So if you would like it strictly for research, solely for non-commercial purposes, you can check this box. And then if you would like a researcher that has an approved IRB, which is an institutional review board, you can select the box here. So we do have a whole research application that researchers have to go through. It's a very standard application that is very standard within the research world. We have a whole committee that does review each application to make sure that everyone coming in is accessing the data ethically, and also making sure everyone has kind of the right intentions when they're accessing the data. And this is where, if you select you only want researchers with an approved IRB, this is where we can kind of separate them out as well. Moving through the data sharing preferences, if you've had any biological samples collected, this is where you would indicate that. And if you're interested in the collection of biological samples for research, once RareX is getting really close to having this option available. So if you are interested in being contacted about that, once it is available, you can select yes. The next section is really important for the patient community itself. So you do have the ability to share your contact information with the community. Contact information is first name, last name, email. So the 2 leaders that have gone through the data ethics training will be able to have access to this if you select yes. They will not be able to take the information of who's enrolled and connect it back to any of the data that is being collected. This is strictly for, building out the community aspect within your disease community, reaching out about conferences, reaching out about, maybe some new surveys that are in the data collection program, reaching out about advocacy and support tools that the organization provides. So you can control and you can edit this at any time. So if you don't want to share right now, but later you do, you can change it at any time. The second option is also about having your data included on a DCP data dashboard. So the leaders do have access to a dashboard where they can see real-time kind of participant counts, enrollment numbers, survey completion rates, as well as demographics. So if you consent to that, your data will be included on those data dashboard for the leaders, and they can share this data back with you at any time. So once you go through that, you have completed the process of enrolling as a caregiver, and now it's time to add a patient. So once you get through that, you'll see on your dashboard, there'll be up on the left-hand corner, there's an add a patient button. So you can add as many patients as you have, and you will go through that exact same process of going through the consent, but make sure you're answering for the patient. Same with the general information, demographics, and the data sharing preferences. So it's very repetitive, but you will only have to do it once. So when you're starting to fill out your surveys, you'll want to make sure you're viewing the correct patient. So up at the top here, you'll see that Marilyn is the caregiver, but you're viewing Macy. So Macy is who all the surveys will be connected back to. So once you have your patients added, you will be able to see in the dashboard all of the surveys that are available to you. So the first survey, and honestly the most important as you're going through, is the head to toe survey. So this survey will ask you every question from your head to your toe. And for every yes or unsure about those symptoms, you will trigger level 2 questions that go more in depth about that symptom. Over here on the right, you will see time to complete. This is just an estimate. They're usually very generous times. It shouldn't take too long. We just would rather overestimate the time. And then it will list how many questions. So here's an example of some of the questions that are in the head to toe survey. have you had issues with eyes or vision? Yes. Or unsure, then that's when the level 2 surveys will kick in after that. You can click up here on the X at any time and it will save your survey. So if you don't have time to complete the survey all at once, you can click on the X and it will save your survey. In the head to toe survey, it will ask about genetic testing. So if you have had genetic testing, you would indicate yes, and indicate what the reason for the genetic testing is. And then if you do have a genetic report, we do have the ability to upload it. So within the dashboard, over on the left-hand side, you will see the documents section. Here, you'll be able to upload and tag it as a genetic report. It typically takes about a minute or two to upload, but you can upload it here and you'll see it in your documents tab. This is also a great way and a place to just store it because you can download it at any time. We have a team of genetic counselors here at RareX that goes in and curates all of the genetic reports and adds it back into the data set to just create more of a complete data set. So here's a few examples of the level 2 surveys that could be in your dashboard, depending on what type of answers you give in the head to toe. So they go more kind of a deep dive into the symptoms. So, there's behavior surveys, bone, cartilage, and tissue, brain and nervous system, digestive, hearing and ears, endocrine system, head, face, and neck. We have a lot of level 2 surveys, so that is just very baseline of some of the examples. But here's kind of what a level 2 survey would look like. So if you've said, yes, I have issues, or unsure, I have eye and vision issues, then you will get a survey like this. So going specifically into, eye movement issues, do you see this symptom? Yes, no, or unsure. When did this, symptom first appear, and when was this symptom diagnosed? At the bottom of this, there is also, like, if you see something in the survey that, wasn't asked but pertains to the patient, this is a great place to describe it in more detail. So additional issue, you would say yes, and then please describe. So you can go into as much detail as you would like. We just ask that you try to not put any identifying information in this free text. So try not to put the patient's name or age in, but it is okay if you do. We do have a team that is able to go in and remove that identifying information before it gets moved to the researcher platform. If there is probably our most extensive survey is the Violent, it will take the most amount of time. If the survey does appear in your dashboard, there's two kind of key points when it comes to it. If you have already taken a Violent survey and you have a report, you can upload that in the documents tab. So where you upload your genetic report, you can upload that report, the Violent report there, and tag it as a Violent, so you don't have to retake it. 2, if you do have the Violent in your dashboard, it is a very long and extensive survey, but it is of high importance to a lot of researchers. So you don't have to complete it all in one sitting, but once you start it, you have 30 days to complete it. And after the 30 days, all of your answers will kind of reset and you will have to start over. You will get a few emails from the system letting you know that, you've started the survey, come back and finish it. But it will not tell you, you only have 2 days left to finish it. So just keep that in mind, that if you start the Violent, you do only have 30 days to complete it without having to restart it over again. And lastly, once you've completed some surveys, you will see them in the completed tab. You will be able to access them at any time. So you can view them, you can retake them. Retaking them is important. So if new surveys or new symptoms are coming up, you'll want to retake, especially when it comes to, when does the symptom first appear or when has it been diagnosed? You'll want to retake those surveys just so we can track it over time. And then you can email all of the surveys to yourself. So if you're interested in taking this into a clinician's office, you can email it to yourself and download it as a PDF at any time. So you'll just click on the ellipsis over on the right-hand side. We do release new surveys very frequently. So those will all show up in the new and in progress tab if they pertain to you. We also release new questions on certain surveys. So specifically like the head to toe, there might be new questions that come up. You won't have to retake the entire head to toe again. You might just have maybe 1 or 2 questions that have been added in. You also will get emails from the platform itself, letting you know, oh, there's a new survey, log back in and, complete the survey. It will show up. So like the head to toe, it will move over to new and in progress, and it will show that it is, needs to be completed. It won't be all 43 questions. It probably will just be like 1 or 2, but it will show up as 43 questions. If you have any questions at any time or any technical issues, you can email the RareX support email box. We have a full-time support coordinator that can walk you through the process, help you reset your passwords, explain any of the branching logic that comes, like, why am I getting this survey? Anything like that, please feel free to reach out, and any feedback. So if you find, some wording on a survey is kind of weird, let us know, because we can look into changing it. A lot of times the licensing and the survey language is very like standard, but we do have a little bit of flexibility to make it a little more user friendly. So please let us know of any feedback. Are there any questions I can answer?
You must have done an awesome job explaining everything.
And we will share this slide deck too with your leaders, and they'll be able to share that with you. And there's lots of different resources that they have that can kind of help you through the process of enrolling. And I'm sure they can answer any questions as well that come up. So definitely email them, and then email the support. I'll put the support email in the chat for everyone.
That's right. I'm going to be sending an email around later today with information on where you can access the portal so you guys can start your accounts. I actually put the link in the chat too. And there's a place on our website that you'll be able to link directly to our platform as well.
And maybe we could get just a couple words from Dr. Vogt and Dr. Kim, just of why it's a good idea to undertake a patient registry and spend the half an hour or whatever it takes to doing it. Because I know it might be daunting just seeing all the instructions and how to do everything, but eyes on the prize, the result is going to be super helpful.
Yeah, just to reiterate that, it's from our standpoint, the more people that are on the registry, the better. We sometimes in the rare disease field are daunted by the low numbers, and it doesn't allow us to sometimes get at more subtleties and things going on that we could learn about and eventually, come up with therapies. So the more critical mass we have on this, the better. And I love that it's being curated this way, because it's going to have a centralized source that we can go to. Both the clinicians and the researchers and the families will all have this, and I think that's fantastic.
The other positive about the RareX platform is that these surveys are all standardized. They've been created by survey masters, if I may say. I mean, there are fields dedicated to survey development and how you ask questions, and because they're standard, it's going to be measurable against other rare disease groups out there, potentially allowing collaboration and future treatments that are composed in a way that is most accessible for researchers. So I'm really happy with that. All of these surveys are not DeSH specific. They're more generalized to symptom specific in a way that, like I said, will be really helpful for researchers who have to look at a large amount of data. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Like I said, this recording will be available on our website later this evening, and I really hope that you guys will start joining the platform now as soon as you can. I really look forward to receiving some data, and I know Dr. Vogt and Dr. Kim do too. So thank you.